The Little Red Hen tries the Ten Commandments. Deontological ethics. The Little Red Hen went to the library and learned that ethics was a code of values to guide your life. She had already tried altruism and utilitarianism and found that they were not very helpful in her life at all. So she learned that some of the oldest rules in ethics were called the Ten Commandments, that they were part of the Judeo-Christian tradition of ethics. She thought to herself, none of these newfangled ethics work, so I'm going to try one that has stood the test of time. She learned that the Ten Commandments said, first, thou shalt have no gods before me. Second, thou shalt not make yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above, or on earth beneath, or in the waters below. We shall not bow down to them and worship them. Third, thou shalt not misuse the name of the Lord your God. Fourth, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Fifth, honor your mother and your father. Sixth, thou shalt not murder. Seventh, thou shalt not commit adultery. Eighth, thou shalt not steal. Ninth, thou shalt not give false testimony against your neighbor. 10th, thou shalt not covet your neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant, his ox or his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbors. The Little Red Hen thought about the ancient wisdom that went into the Ten Commandments and smiled to herself. She did some further research and found some disturbing points. For instance, the punishment for not following the first commandment was stoning to death. And if you violated the second commandment and drew a picture of God, you were cursed. And for violating the third amendment, the Bible said that you shall surely be put to death. And by servant, they meant slave. But she noticed that no one focused on these things, so she decided to ignore them. On her way home, she was excited to get back to the farm and start practicing the Ten Commandments. She noticed that they were low on food. As the Little Red Hen approached the farm, she thought, I'll ask the pig if he'll help me go find some food. As she approached the pig asked her, What do you learn at the library, Little Red Hen? The Little Red Hen told the pig about how she'd learned about the Ten Commandments, how ethics were a code of values to guide one's life. She asked the pig, who was a professor of theology at the local university, why you couldn't draw an image of God. The pig said sternly, Those are the laws of God. There's no questioning them. So the Little Red Hen shifted. Will you help me go find some food? The pig asked, Is looking for food ethical? I don't see anything about looking for food in the Ten Commandments. So I'll pray for us to find some food, but I will not help you go look for food. As the Little Red Hen walked away, she started going through each of the Ten Commandments. And sure enough, there was none of them that said anything that would help her decide that it was a good idea to go find food. So she approached the duck and asked, Will you help me find some food? The duck said, I saw you talking to Professor Pig. Professor Pig is very smart. What did he say when you asked him to go help find food? The Little Red Hen replied, Well, he said he'd pray for me, but he wouldn't help me go find food, because there was nothing in the Ten Commandments that said it was ethical to go find food. Well, if Professor Pig won't help you find food, neither will I. As the Little Red Hen wandered away, she thought, The dog is my friend. I'll ask the dog to help me find some food. The dog was curled up taking a nap. Will you help me find some food? The dog said, Well, what did Professor Pig and the duck say? They said they'd pray for me to find food, but they wouldn't help me go find food, because there was nothing about it in the Ten Commandments. Well, I only want to do what the group does, so I won't help you find food either. So the little red hen wandered into the field near the farm, looking for some food. It was a nice sunny day, and as she wandered through the fresh-smelling grass, her mood improved. She stumbled upon some wheat kernels and thought, I could collect all these wheat kernels, plant them, and we could make some bread. She painstakingly collected all the kernels of wheat in the hot sun. As she approached the farm, she saw Professor Pig. Professor Pig, will you help me plant these wheat kernels? The pig said, You told me that ethics is a code of values to guide your life. So let's see what the 10 Commandments say. The first commandment says, Thou shalt have no other gods before me. That doesn't seem to apply as to whether we should plant wheat or not. The second commandment says, Thou shalt not make idols. That doesn't seem to apply either. The third commandment says, Thou shalt not use the Lord's name in vain. I don't see how that applies to planting wheat either. And so the pig and the little red hen went through all 10 commandments. They didn't find any answers about planting wheat. So the pig said, I don't see whether it's ethical or not to plant wheat, but I'll pray for you. The little red hen wasn't sure how this would help, so she wandered off to ask the duck if he would help her plant some wheat. As she approached the duck said, I saw you talking to Professor Pig. What were you talking about? We were talking about whether it was ethical to plant wheat. The duck asked, What did Professor Pig say? He said he couldn't decide whether it was ethical or not, but he would pray for me if I planted wheat. The duck said, That sounds good. I'll pray for you also. So the little red hen wandered off dejectedly to ask the dog if he would help her plant the wheat. As she approached the dog said, I saw you talking to Professor Pig and the duck. What were you talking about? I asked them if they would help me plant this wheat. And what did they say? They said they would pray for me, but they wouldn't help me plant the wheat. The dog said, I don't want to do anything that's out of the ordinary. I want to be a part of the group. So I'll pray for you too. So the little red hen planted the wheat all by herself. She tended the wheat over the next couple of months, and the wheat grew into tall grass. And then the sun turned it into a brilliant golden color, which meant that it was time to be harvested. So the little red hen went to Professor Pig and asked him, Will you help me harvest the wheat? Professor Pig once again said, Let's examine the 10 Commandments that are your ethical guide. And after painstakingly working through each of the 10 Commandments, there was nothing about whether they should harvest the wheat or not. So Professor Pig, who was very smart, said, I will not help you harvest the wheat, but I will pray for you. So the little red hen wandered off and asked the duck, Will you help me harvest the wheat? The duck said, What did Professor Pig say? He said, There's nothing in the 10 Commandments that says whether harvesting the wheat is ethical. So he said he'd pray for me. Well, Professor Pig is very smart, so I'll pray for you too, but I won't help you harvest the wheat. So the little red hen approached the dog. Will you help me harvest the wheat? The dog said, What did the duck and the pig say? They said they'd pray for me. The dog said, Well, I only want to do what the group does, so I'll pray for you too, but I won't help you harvest the wheat. So the little red hen harvested the wheat all by herself. And when she was done harvesting the wheat, she went to Professor Pig and asked, Will you help me take the wheat to the mill to be ground into flour? Once again, Professor Pig went through each of the 10 Commandments and said, There's nothing in here about taking wheat to be ground into flour. So I don't know whether this action is ethical or not, but I'll pray for you. So the little red hen approached the duck and asked the duck, Will you help me take the wheat to the mill to be ground into flour? The duck said, I saw you talking to Professor Pig. What did he say? He said there's nothing in the 10 Commandments that tells me whether it's ethical to take wheat to be ground into flour, and therefore he will not help me. He will pray for me. The duck said, well, Professor Pig is very smart, and if he won't help you take the wheat to be ground into flour at the mill, then neither will I. So the little red hen wandered away dejectedly to the dog and asked the dog, will you help me take this wheat to the mill to be ground into flour? The dog asked, what did Professor Pig and the duck say? They both said that they wouldn't help me, because there was nothing in the 10 Commandments that told them whether this was ethical or not. They said they'd pray for me. Well, I don't want to stick my neck out. I'll only do what the group does, so I won't help you either. So the little red hen lugged the heavy wheat all the way to the mill, had it ground into flour. On her way back, as she approached the farm, she saw Professor Pig. Professor Pig, will you help me make bread from this flour? Professor Pig once again went through each of the 10 Commandments, one at a time, while the little red hen rolled her eyes. And Professor Pig said, nothing in the 10 Commandments says that I should bake this bread, but I'll pray for you. So the little red hen approached the duck. Will you help me make bread with my freshly ground flour? The duck said, I saw you talking to Professor Pig. What did he say? He said, there's nothing in the 10 Commandments that said we should bake bread. So he'll pray for me, but he will not help me bake bread. The duck said, well, Professor Pig is very smart, so if he won't help you make bread, then neither will I, but I will pray for you. The little red hen wandered off to the dog and asked the dog, will you help me make bread out of this flour? The dog said, what did Professor Pig and the duck say? They both said that they wouldn't help me, but they would pray for me. Well, I only want to do what the group does, so I won't help you either, but I'll pray for you. So the little red hen baked the bread all by herself, and the smell of the freshly baked bread caused the pig, the duck, and the dog all to come to the table. The little red hen asked, what are you guys doing? They said, we're here to help you eat the bread. The little red hen said, well, let's examine the 10 Commandments to see whether it's ethical to eat this bread or not. They went through each of the 10 Commandments. There was nothing about eating bread. The little red hen said, I don't know whether it's ethical for you to eat this bread, but I'll pray for you. And she ate the bread all by herself. The end. Long live freedom, damn it.